very interested to read the comments on this. I really am. I'm also very interested to hear what you have to say about this. So I actually read something about this maybe a week or so ago, but I didn't broach it on the channel because I was like, it's far fetched. That's probably not going to happen. At this point, it kind of still looks like it probably won't happen because the gubernatorial candidate who is trying to push this thing, it's not necessarily looking like he has a legitimate chance to become governor of Florida. But for anyone who is unaware, there is a gubernatorial candidate in the state of Florida. And one of the things that he is campaigning on is a proposed sin tax for the state of Florida, in which content creators, specifically people who are on OnlyFans, would pay 50% of their earnings in taxes. And this guy calls this a sin tax.
50%. God damn.
50%, bro. Yeah, 50%. That's how extreme he feels about this. So, of course, you have all of the sex workers coming out of the woodwork to object to this. Friend of the channel, Sophie Rain, she was one of the first people talking about how blasphemous this is. And we have another OnlyFans, sex worker who is objecting to this. And this chick goes by the name of Anya Lacey. Now, full disclosure, I've never heard of this woman before, but that, of course, comes as no surprise. I don't follow these individuals on these platforms, if that's what you want to call them. But this woman here, Anya Lacey, who is on OnlyFans, is not a fan of this proposed sin tax, and she's speaking out against it. So this says, OnlyFans trad wife Anya Lacey slams Florida governor candidate for a sin tax proposal. Conservative OnlyFans creator. I don't even know what that means. Conservative OnlyFans.
Oh, because she's a trad wife, so she's conservative by content.
Whatever, I guess. So, conservative OnlyFans creator Anya Lacey is firing back at Florida gubernatorial candidate James Fishback over his proposal to impose a steep new tax on content creators using the subscription-based platform. Fishback, 31, has called for a 50% sin tax on income earned through OnlyFans, claiming the measure would raise $200 million in revenue to boost teacher salaries and school lunches.
Cap.
The Republican hopeful, who trails far behind Representative Byron Donalds in GOP primary polling, said the proposal is aimed at discouraging what he called online degeneracy. As Florida governor in year one, I will push for the first of its kind OnlyFans sin tax. If you are a so-called OnlyFans creator in Florida, you are going to pay 50% to the state on whatever you so-called earn via that online degeneracy platform. Lacey, 19, who promotes conservative and trad wife values while running a successful OnlyFans account, called the proposal misguided and discriminatory. Speaking to the New York Post, Lacey stated, "I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's quite rich in a state where the city, Miami, was literally built off cocaine money, and he's calling it a sin tax. I don't really understand that, since we could call alcohol a sin, marijuana strip clubs. Unless he's ready to put a tax on anything that can be considered a sin, I think his proposal is absolutely ludicrous. This state has never been a stranger to people making money in ways the general public might not approve of. Let's not rewrite history." She argued the bill reflects a broader hypocrisy, pointing to data suggesting 50% of U.S. adults have viewed pornography, with 27% admitting to doing so in the past month. Those are the numbers of those who surveyed admitted. That figure is likely much higher. If you're assuming the public will support this, you're also pretending a quarter of them aren't engaging with this content. That's just false. And to act like no one in the state or house is watching this stuff is delusional. Lacey said much of her content on the platform is not explicit at all. I've posted fishing videos, baking content, videos with my pets, she explained. The creator also took issue with the framing of the tax as a penalty for immoral behavior. Let's call it what it is, a punitive tax on a personal belief system. If you're calling this a sin tax, then why aren't alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and even strip clubs being taxed at the same rate? You don't get to decide that OnlyFans is the one true sin. So that's her 2 cents on that. What do you make of the syntax and this Anya Lacey woman's um, you know, the argument that she used to clap back against this idea?
I mean, honestly, bro, like I'm not trying to sit here and agree with a trad bop, because that's what she is, a trad bop. She ain't no wife. Um, but that's a good point. It's pretty lazy. It's low hanging fruit. Um, you should have came up with another name. I get it. It sounds spicy. Should have came up with another name for that. I'm pretty sure that's the street name for a syntax, but if you want to go there, you're going to have these kind of arguments, which honestly is valid. Um, but then the other part of that is who's going to support this? Now, I know Florida is a conservative state and it has its conservative views, but a large amount of money coming out of Miami is that industry.
Yes.
South Florida, it's that industry. So it wouldn't just be OnlyFans models that's getting taxed. It would also be the industry that works there that would be getting taxed, I'm sure.
Well, he specifically said
Said
OnlyFans
OnlyFans.
tax. Yeah.
But a lot the way that these things are also working is that some of these girls, a la what's your boy name that got his ass beat up? Andrew Tate. Some people actually work women through OnlyFans. So it's some OnlyFans things where it's her account, but it's managed by other people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also that industry as well. It's an industry.
Yeah.
And so there's people making money out of it, male and female, that's exploiting this content. And so it's not enough to swing a vote, but they would also be very influential people that are not going to be down for this, that are males, that are on the production side of it. And then there's the fans who are going to get taxed for it. Because the only thing the girl's going to do is raise their rates. So then the guys that are watching this garbage and paying these woes, they going to be hit with inflation, a 50% tax. Hey, girl, I was only paying $5 a month. Now I got to pay $7.50. This is an outrage. Or some guys are actually just going to pay for it. But why would you volunteer as a voter to pay more for your degeneracy? Doesn't add up. So yes, Florida, I guess technically would qualify for a southern state. Okay, it is conservative, but there is a lot of money being made in Florida, as she mentioned, bruh. Strip clubs, drugs.
No,
And other
I think Miami. I'd have to look up some data to see if I can. I would have to look up and see if I can find some data to back this up. But I'm hard pressed to think that any other city currently in this country makes more money off of the sex industry than Miami right now. But I have to look up some data. That's my guess. I need to look up some data to back that up before I can say that factually. But the amount of this content that gets produced down here, hard for me to believe that more money is being made elsewhere than this place.
Well, I think it's safe to bet it's top 5.
Absolutely.
It's safe to bet top 5, which
Yeah.
in and of itself is still very impressive, depending on how you want to look at impressive. But nevertheless, it's part of the economy. And so by him doing this, it sounds good. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to deter the content creators, if you want to call them that, or the people who pay. I don't think it's going to sway anybody, man. I don't know who's that high on their moral horse, even if they don't if there's people that don't even partake in it, that want to decide to go, yeah, tax them woes, and then what are you going to, you're going to allegedly spend that on education, books, and school. Like, let's be honest here. All right, let's get an audit trail on that money once you get it. But all in all, I'm not buying it. I don't think the people are going to go for it. And it's sad to say that in this context, I agree with a box worker. But what are your thoughts, man, on this OnlyFans girl saying that the syntax is absolutely outrageous? What are your thoughts, bro?
So everything that I'm looking up here is saying California is still leading in that category.
I would think so. California is
Yeah,
very debaucherous, bro. We just
yeah,
haven't really been out there like that.
yeah. There's just it just seems like anytime I run across a story involving somebody doing something on OF,
Mhm.
they do it out of Miami.
Yeah.
It just seems like every time I see it, that's where I'm reading it from.
Mhm.
She's right. She is right. She does make a point. So unfortunately, I have to agree with this person. She does make a point in that if you're going to text that on the syntax, then why can't you text all the other stuff on syntax? But I feel like the reason why stuff like this is coming about is because for whatever reason, things like OnlyFans just hits different. And maybe it could be a generational thing. Maybe like if you've been alive long enough, you're desensitized towards the presence of strip clubs and alcohol, so it doesn't affront your sensibilities as much as OnlyFans, which is this relatively new thing that pretty much exploded and became proliferated in the wake of COVID for the most part. So maybe that has something to do with why people some people react so aggressively to it. But I do think it hits different. I do think it hits different because, prior to OF becoming what it is, you didn't really see. I'll give you an example. And this is something that we talked about previously on the channel, right? Um, you didn't see, you wouldn't typically read stories of the mother of a child in elementary school driving her kid to school and having her stripper job advertised on her car, right? Like that wasn't a story that you would turn on to the news and read about,
Mhm.
right? This woman who shows up with her OnlyFans advertised on her car while she's dropping her elementary school kid off to school. And the school has code of conduct policies and whatnot. It's against you're violating policy. So the school reprimands the mom, tells the mom if you insist on dropping the kid off, you need to either remove the advertisement or maybe park somewhere else and walk your kid over because we can't have that on school grounds, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And the woman raised hell, claiming that the school was essentially discriminating against her because it was not allowing her to freely advertise her OnlyFans on her car. And this one, the nature of this woman's OnlyFans was busting it wide open.
Of
So
course.
she ain't fishing and cooking and doing laundry. Her OnlyFans is busting it wide open. And you typically like you didn't see that going on with women who were strippers, for example. Did it happen? I don't know. Was it being underreported? I'm sure somebody would suggest it's been happening all this time. It's just not being it's being reported now or it was being underreported. I don't buy that. I just think that that's something that humans were not doing back then.
Mhm.
But nowadays, people are emboldened to be sex workers out in the open, glamorized, celebrated so much so that they're being afforded all these various platforms, and the stigmatization around it is being stripped away so much so that there's an aspect of legitimacy that is being attached to it now compared to the way it used to be, that people like her are now feeling free and comfortable to advertise this, even though they're driving their elementary school kid to school every morning.
Mhm.
You didn't see that with women who are strippers. You didn't see that with escorts. Hell, I mean, you didn't really see it with tobacco, and you didn't really see it. If you want to lump, like if you had a liquor store, maybe you had like something on your car advertising your business or whatever, call this number, blah blah blah. I don't recall stuff like that. I don't recall that. I don't recall that with tobacco. So these examples that she's using to highlight the discrepancy, while on the surface she does make a point in that all of those can be lumped into the category of sin, she's failing to mention that the way these things are glamorously being promoted and advertised nowadays hits different by comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what people are objecting to is the readiness of the communication and the messaging and the marketing of it. You didn't really see strippers driving their elementary school kid up to school with their stripperness advertised on their car. That wasn't really something that you saw. So I think the difference is stuff like OnlyFans is just hitting different,
Mm-hmm.
and people are taking offense to it. Now, this guy who's running for governor, I think he's doing this knowing that there's a high likelihood that it will never pass
Of
because
course.
there's too much money to be made. So he's using it as a way to put his name on the map as the guy
Yeah.
who's going to fight back against all of these aspects of degeneracy that we all hate so much.
Yes.
But practically speaking, the likelihood that it's going to go through very slim because there's too much money being made off this stuff. But all in all, to her point, she makes a point to an extent, but I also think she fails to acknowledge the nuance, probably purposefully so, because she knows that if you do introduce the nuance to the conversation, she doesn't really have a leg to stand on. I think this stuff hits different because of the accessibility and the ubiquitousness of the look and the feel and the iconography and the imagery of it. That's what makes it different compared to the way it used to be, and that's what has people up in arms suggesting stuff like this, impractical as it may be.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with that, and I think that the whole fact I really agree with the fact that he's basically doing this as a publicity stunt to make a name of himself in the state of Florida. Um, Again, man, I don't know if you want to do that. You know, I mean, I guess that's the right tree to bark up. I guess for the algorithm, but you want you if you're a politician in the state of Florida, you want to make nice with those levels of influential people. I'm not talking about the models. I'm talking about the people in that industry. Because if you come for a website or an app or whatever you want to call it, that's a very targeted legislation, which again adds to the point of how are you going to enforce this? Like, what are you talking about? Um, so it's ridiculous. But still, even in the fact of, I think that this guy is barking up the wrong tree as far as getting that industry upset with him. If you're a politician, I'm not telling you to smoothie up with these people. I'm just telling you to don't piss them off. So yes, he's making a name of himself, but he might be making the wrong kind of name for being a clown. So we'll see how far this goes. But I think that uh, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for him to push this, to be honest. And again, I'm not sitting here defending these wolves. Uh,
Yeah,
I just think that was a lazy way of getting your name out there. And this was a lazy thing to call it a syntax and stuff. Because what do you mean by sin?
exactly.
It's a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah,
So I think it was very lazy of him. But the points you bring up as far as um yeah, we didn't see strippers doing that or whatever. Yeah, it's a different type of whatever with this OF stuff because it's actually legitimized at this point as a side hustle.
yeah.
And this
Well,
is my
because they're not being called. They're not being called P stars. They're not being called adult film actors and actresses. They're not being called any of that. They're being called content creators. So like everywhere you look with this stuff, there is an aspect of legitimacy that has accompanied the proliferation of OnlyFans that you didn't really see being accompanied with the stuff from previous eras, right?
Mhm.
So that's what it is. It just hits different. There's an era of legitimacy that has come along with this that is different.
Yeah, and I did a little market research on this situation here. And yeah, man, her page is her she literally does what everybody else does. Like, I don't know what her OF is, but her like social media stuff It's literally what every other risque, scandalous girl does online. Um, and she's got the OF attached to it, I'm sure. But if her content is anything like her regular IG page, which it might be a real derivative of it, because she's just saying that she's cooking and stuff like that, and you know, how do you, is that a sin? Because there's some thirsty conservative dudes that want a trad thotty. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she's really not showing box, where's the line drawn? It's because she actually have an OF page. So let's say that she takes that off OF. How are you going to enforce that now when she's just literally showing ass shots in an apron? So where's the line drawn? Can she not wear an apron? Can she not show her thong? Can all women with thongs on platforms? How is this going to get enforced, bro?
There's a lot of ambiguity.
Yeah, and that's the reason why this is more of a publicity stunt than an actual statement. To try to make this trad thought look like a scholar, actually debating against a politician, and she actually had more valid points than that arsehole. So, both of these people get thrown in the clown category, like like Don Lemon and Nicki Minaj. I think all of this is just outrageous. But I would say this, as far as that is barking up the right tree, because I know there are going to find a way to nationally tax this, because it's being legitimized and actually seen as some type of a side hustle. So long as you aren't selling your box, but you're visually selling it online, they're going to find a way to get a cut of that. 50%, I think they're not going to do that.
No.
But they're definitely going to find a way to get a cut of that. Just like they're doing with the gambling industry, they're going to find a way to take, because this is a $1 billion industry that these everyday amateur woes are getting paid. So they're going to find a way to take a good chunk of that. So I think this is barking up the tree that's going to happen eventually later, though. I would say that.
Yeah, you raise a good point. I definitely think in the near future there will be MGM Bet and DraftKings and Hard Rock Bet app versions of OnlyFans.
Yeah,
it's only a matter of time. Yeah, because I think that's the difference. I think in the past, cat houses, escort services, strip clubs, street corners, these were all right. Yeah, like these things were all like underground, known but not spoken of. If you patronized it, you didn't talk about it. You definitely didn't. You wouldn't post about it. It just kind of lurked in the shadows. It was underground, and everybody just accepted that it exists, but it's delegitimized from that standpoint. And the difference between that and OnlyFans is OnlyFans has been aggressively mainstream and legitimized. And so that's where this fervor to try to figure out a way to responsibly box it into certain categories comes from. Because I think the idea is, well, hell, if you're going to force the general population to accept that this is now legitimate, we need to figure out the proper ways to place certain parameters around said legitimacy. And of course, some of the people who don't want to lose a lot of their ends are gonna, complain about it. But at the end of the day, you're not gonna stop that storm from coming, because Uncle Sam always figures out a way to get its cut. Always. I remember back when we were in middle school, high school, I never would have thought that I'd see the day that you literally could pull open your phone and have access to a legalized casino right there on your phone. Like back when we were growing up, you had to go to Atlantic City or Las Vegas if you wanted to go to a casino, or Reno, Nevada, or Carson City, Nevada, some of them places like that. Now, Florida here, casinos all over the place. You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere. And then on the phone, pull up the app, you gambling like it's nothing. Uncle Sam eventually comes for everybody. And since we have accepted that this sex working is now legitimized, Uncle Sam is going to come for it too.
Yes. And and last thing I'll say is, because they found other ways to tax these women, because I'm sure they do pay some type of tax or whatever, but there's going to be a special code, you know, a 1099 type thing,
Yeah,
where it's
right.
just like, yeah, you're gonna have to fill this out. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, they're gonna pay, I think they're gonna pay a little bit more than everybody else. Cause honestly, that's a pretty clean tax. It's credit card transactions, it's all online digital
Yeah.
stuff, it's easily trackable and traceable. So that I think that'll be a, I'm not, you know, it is what it is. But I'm telling you right now, once the government gets involved like that for real, you know, it's just going to create an inflation. So the only thing that these girls are going to do is increase their prices. And the crazy part about it is these dudes are going to be paying the premium.
Yeah. And that right there is the point of this whole thing. you
Mhm.
just you just hit the nail on the head that
Mhm.
it will be paid and those subscriptions will remain anyway.
Yeah, these wolves don't care. They're just going to charge the dudes more.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you know, the guys are always getting the shorter end of the stick with all of this stuff, man. But hey, like you said, bro, you're the one that got the power in your hands as a man,
Yeah.
and you give your power away. And in this context, if you want to be the guy that's complaining about groceries, complaining about rent, complaining about insurance, complaining about all this other stuff, but
Complaining about women being for the streets.
complaining about women being for the streets, but you're paying the extra taxed OF website fees. Hey, bro, kick rocks. You have nowhere to stand on that, bro. Like
Yes.
nobody's gonna feel sorry for you, bro, because you got a $72 balance every month on these various women. It
Yeah.
used to be $50. Bro, get out of my face, bro. Get out of my face, dog.
Trust me, they'll still find a way to complain about it, even though
Yeah.
you're right. I agree with you. They don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to complaining. They'll still complain anyway.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Florida. Those two can kick rocks.